Oh, hold on. I think I've got time for one more donation. Splatmoss donates $250 and says, I ended up missing my chance for a favorite game of all time donation earlier this week. So I think right now is a good time. Big thanks to all the runners and GDQ crew for putting together another great event. And now, let's get on with the show. BillyJr82, take it away.
What's up, GDQ? Welcome to Silly Block Part 2, kind of, I guess. I mean, we're okay, fine. We're just doing the one game, but we're doing 30 games in one, so it's kind of like an additional part of Silly Block. You'll get the idea if you've never seen this before. With me is Poochy.EXE.
Hey, everybody.
Say hello. And JimTheEternal.
How's it going?
So Poochy's been running this game with me for the past few years now. He is by far my biggest competitor in this game, so he's going to be helping out with the commentary. JimTheEternal is a good friend of mine who actually has been gracious enough to learn this game with us, even though he doesn't run it, but at least he can help with providing the commentary. So thank you very much for you guys. What we're going to do is, since you guys met the incentive, thank you so much for that. There's another $20,000 for Doctors Without Borders. That is awesome. What we're going to be doing is the run itself is we're just going to be doing all stages, so we're going to run through all 30 games. But what the upgrade to 100% does is that every single minigame has a hidden bonus requirement that we're going to go for. Some of them are free, and some of them are very, very risky to go for. But we're going to go for all of them, and we're going to try to get triple S on everything as we go. That's basically it. So if everyone is ready.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Awesome.
Yep, ready.
We're going to start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so we're going to pick a character and then move straight into the mini-games. We're going to start off with Attention Seeker, which is ostensibly a mashing game. You want to alternate red and blue in order to attract the cat's attention. We're going to get the bonus right at the beginning. You're going to see Billy Jr. pressing green 10 times right at the start, even though that doesn't do anything else. Poochy, you want to talk about the timings?
Yep. So there's a hidden route that makes the meter jump up if you tap the buttons in a certain order and a certain rhythm. And it's actually much faster than just mashing red and blue.
It's one of the more complex mini-games, despite the length of time that it took. Moving into another one of the shorter mini-games, but this one is a lot simpler. This is Origami. We're going to be hitting red 10 times at the start in order to get the bonus, and then just mash those buttons as hard as possible.
This one's just straightforward mashing. But the time limit for triple S is very, very tight.
That one's by far one of the tightest, yeah. This game is not entirely balanced in every minigame. Some of them are a bit more stricter than others.
Yeah, some of those triple
Next,
S's
we're
are
doing tap with
free.
your fingers. Some of the triple S's are very not free.
Yep.
This is tap with your fingers. So in this game, you're going to be pressing red and blue in order to catch the fish cakes. At the beginning, we're going to be, instead of pressing red and blue at the same time, you're going to be pressing blue slightly ahead of red in order to gallop the inputs a little bit. And then you get the golden fish cake as the fifth one.
And this one, they speed up over time. So towards the end, you can't really react by watching them, but they fall in a rhythm, and there's a sound cue when they start falling. So you can use those to time it.
A lot of it is just internalizing that timing, the sound cue, or any other method you can think of instead of just reacting. Next is Screaming Competition. We're going to go through all of the simpler mini-games here at the beginning. Screaming Competition is simply a mashing game. Much like Origami, the goal is to mash those buttons as hard as possible. There's a variety of different mashing techniques available. As you can see, Billy Jr. is mashing all 3 buttons with one hand, and then all 3 buttons with the other hand, alternating left and right. Some people prefer the 2 on the left and then the 2 on the right. A lot of different ways to do things. The bonus is at the end, holding down both red and blue, getting that UFO crashing into the world. And speaking of triple S timings that are not that tight, double the triple S there.
That one's totally free.
All right, next is Rolling Snowman. This is also ostensibly a mashing game, mashing red and blue, alternating red and blue. But in this case, if you just mash equally, you do a lot better than you might think you'd otherwise do.
And bonus is holding green before hitting yellow at the end. So this one, you keep mashing after yellow lights up and still earn points, but there's a huge bonus for hitting yellow right when it lights up. So it's actually better to hit yellow right away.
Still impressive to me. I'm still used to seeing 400s, and then it gets to 600.
We only just recently discovered that you can get up to like 600 on that over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Next is Peekaboo. So this is one of the more precise mini games. It's not really a mashing game. We're gonna get the bonus right at the beginning by pressing green 3 times, and then you have to press green, then red and blue together, alternating. Just multiple times in a row. The timing on that one is also particularly finicky. Like if you mess anything up, it causes a bigger delay than it might in some of the other games.
That was super punishing if you're off.
Yep, it not only resets you to the beginning of a pattern, but it locks all inputs for a split second.
Next is Candy Time. This is also mostly a mashing game. You need to mash 100 times. In order to get the bonus, we're mashing all 3 buttons equally, so 30 times in the first 90. 480. What a guy. Not much more to say about that one. Next is Barbecue Time. So, we're finally out of the mashing games. To start, we're going to get the bonus by holding red and blue. And then you can see the UFO come up with the skewers. You're pressing red or green or blue in order to shoot the skewer up in the direction to catch all of the things floating across.
So red is towards the left, blue is towards the right, and green is towards the middle. That's going to be a common control scheme throughout the game.
As a general rule, you'll find things that match up by color or match up by lane, kind of, or direction, like this one does. Of course, you always finish the minigame by pressing yellow. Speed through this one. Next, we're going to Photo Opportunity. So this is kind of a mashing game. The goal of this one is to press the appropriate button as fast as possible. The appropriate button being the position of the girl instead of the inanimate object whenever the scene shows up. And you can get the bonus at any time by holding down green for a little bit, so we got it right at the start.
Also, this one, at the end, you can keep mashing after yellow lights up. And in this case, it is advantageous to continue mashing for a little bit after hitting, after it lights up before hitting yellow. But you still want to hit yellow before time runs out because there is a bonus for it. It just doesn't decay.
So you have like a little bit of like, what, almost a second window there? It's an audio cue that Billy's going for there.
Yeah, I use the siren sound.
Next is picture. Yep, the siren sound, yep. Next is Picture Panic. So the goal of this one is to use red and blue to tilt the picture frames so that they're straight. And we're gonna get the bonus. You're gonna get when you get to the Mona Lisa, you're gonna see it wiggle back and forth a few times, pressing red and blue 5 times in order to alternate the
Oh, 805, wow. That is very good with bonus.
The tricky part there is just figuring out how much of a window you have before you can start putting in the inputs for the next picture. Otherwise, it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, that one you can buffer inputs
is...
while it's moving to the next one.
Yep. Next is Shaved Ice Race. So the goal of this one is to press the button associated with the color of the ice cream. And then the bonus at the beginning is getting three mistakes in a row. You can see the big bump on it instead.
So if you hit exactly 8 times, you can immediately move to the next one. And it'll skip the little animation of the next shaved ice moving up. But if you make a mistake, then you cannot skip the animation anymore.
It also costs you extra time between the different ice creams or shaved ice if you make any mistakes. Otherwise, you can just move immediately from one to the next. So now we're on Crane Catcher. Crane Catcher is just pressing any button in order to catch usually a stuffed animal at the appropriate position. And then we're getting the bonus here by pressing red, then green, then blue, then red, then green as the first 5 catches. Other than for getting the bonus, it doesn't matter what button you press or anything.
And if you hit it with very precise timing, you get a great for double points. And we believe the great is frame perfect, although we're not 100% sure.
That's still pretty good.
That's very good.
Normally I get like 35 or so.
Right on. Next is Pop the Balloons. This is one of my personal favorites. So this one is pressing the button that matches the lane that the balloon is in. It looks kind of like a rhythm game, like Stepmania or DDR, if you're used to those. The big difference here is there are a couple of set patterns, and you don't need to wait for the balloons to be on screen before completing the pattern.
And all 5 patterns differ in the first 2 balloons. So just based on the initial screen, you know what the entire pattern is going to be if you have all 5 of them memorized. My
And then
bonus
it
is
wasn't
matching
visible at the
green
very
again.
end. Yeah. The balloon will turn around to reveal the 3,000 points that you would get. But again, definitely need to be on screen. Oh, okay. Okay. There's the bonus.
It's tricky. Once you get a mistake on this, sometimes it's really difficult to know where exactly you made the mistake, and you have to figure out where you made the mistake without seeing any of the balloons come back up.
Yeah, purely off of audio cues. So next is Shot Stopper. This one is fairly straightforward. You're going to be using red and blue to maneuver the goalie left and right. And by holding green, a button that doesn't otherwise do anything, you can get the mole to show up in the background, indicating that you have the bonus.
And this one is a fixed pattern every single time. It's always the same pattern with the exact same rhythm. So in theory, you could memorize it and even play it blindfolded, because there are a lot of good sound cues. There's a loud whistle when you miss and a thud when you get one right. And based on the timing of a thud, you know where you are in the pattern.
And of course, it's a little bit more difficult at the end. But if you're used to the timing, not that hard. I am not used to the timing. I still suck at this one. Next is Race to the Top. This is more of a precision game, much like the ones that we've been doing before. You will be using red and blue to move your character forward, and then tapping green to have your character jump up steps. There's no punishment in this one for pressing too much red and green, or too much red and blue to move forward. But if you overhop, if you press green too many times, your character trips and costs you some time. And then at the very top, we're going to be holding, hitting all 3 buttons in order to trigger the bonus, revealing a surprise.
The toilets are going to be a bit of a running gag in this game.
This game is weirdly fascinated with it. Next is Eyesight Test. So this is now a reflex game, kind of like the balloon game, except a little bit harder to pre-put inputs. So you're going to be pressing red, green, or blue to match the orientation of the shape, either left, down, or right. We're going to see the bonus here. Or we're not going to see the bonus.
Miss bonus.
Try it again, buddy. So the bonus, the bonus on 3.3 specifically, exactly this one particular location, and it's always going to be oriented downward, and you press yellow instead of green on it, you get a cute little cat face. This one also has some small number of unique patterns, but it's harder to tell which pattern you're on compared to the balloon minigame. The balloon getting game, if you look at the first two balloons, you already know which pattern it is. There was the face, very briefly. But for this one, you need to go down several visible items before you can figure out which pattern you're on, so it's a little bit harder to do. Next is Monster Madness. So the goal of this one is to match the lane and color of the monster with the button that you're pressing. The moment monsters start appearing, you can press the button to catch the monster. You get the bonus at the very end of it by pressing all 3 buttons after you finish killing the big monster.
But this one's just time-based. It's how many hits you can land within a fixed amount of time.
Some of the mini-games will end earlier if you go faster. This mini-game, it's purely the number of monsters that you can hit. You have a fixed amount of time, so we're going for points here instead of time. Next is Rock, Paper, Scissors. Rock, Paper, Scissors, you are judging a Rock, Paper, Scissors competition. You press red if the left side wins, blue if the right side wins, and green if it's a tie.
Now this one, the scoring is a bit complex. So if you hit the right one right away, you get 3 points and a super. If you're fast, you get a great for 2 points. If you're slow, you get a good for 1 point. But if you're wrong, you not only don't get any points, but the game skips around. So if you're getting greats, then a wrong answer actually costs you 4 points instead of 2. And this one's also time-based.
And then the bonus right at the end, pressing red and blue together before you press yellow.
So even though I got 2 wrong there because I got enough supers, I still got the triple S. Oh, almost was 1 short. But you can see how punishing that one is. Just for 2 mistakes and not that many supers and still not triple S.
So next is going to be roulette sequence. This is going to show you a pattern of buttons on the left side and a pattern of instructions on the right side. You need to match the randomized button pattern with a randomized instruction and do whatever it says to do.
So this one, there's 8 combinations of buttons on the left side. Finish is always last. And on the right side, there's hold 1 second, hold 2 seconds, do not tap, and tap 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 times. And each one will come up exactly once. Now, if you keep track of what's already come up, then you know what button is going to be on left for 7th one, and what the command is going to be on right along with the finish button for the 8th one.
And you saw do not tap come up in the middle. The bonus was on do not tap, press yellow 3 times. So you never see do not tap show up for the last one, which is a convenient thing. Next is computer virus. Computer virus, you need to press buttons to match the number of viruses in the folder. And the bonus we're going to get on the 8th folder, folder H, which is press yellow 5 times. The tricky part here is just being able to count to 8, or 5, or 6, or 7, and remembering how many times you've hit any number of buttons. After computer virus, we're going to move on to zigzag race. This is a awful one, absolutely atrocious. The bonus we're going to see at the start is moving backwards, so the wrong direction for the race, until you hit the wall, and then moving forward after that.
Yeah, this one, if you're playing casually, it's very easy to make one mistake and start going backwards. And then once you get the backwards momentum, you keep going backwards, and it's very punishing. He's making it look easy right now.
The lengths of the girders are actually relatively fixed compared to each other, so you can kind of think of it as a rhythm game instead of just reacting to positioning. There's a lot of different ways to think about it.
Next, see how close I was to not getting triple S on that one.
Yeah, right? Especially with the bonus. Getting triple S with the bonus is insane. Now we have Galactic Invaders. Galactic Invaders, much like Monster Madness, is matching your inputs to the lane of the alien that comes up. However, in this case, instead of pressing the one button associated with the lane, there is a set of inputs, so you're pressing either red and green together for the left side, or blue and green together for the right side, or red and blue together for the middle. We got the bonus right at the beginning by holding down all 3 buttons for 1 second and turning the 5th into a drill.
And this one has several fixed patterns of 5. It's random which set of 5 you get, but this is in a few patterns. For example, left, right, left, right, left. You can just hit red and green with one hand, green and blue with the other hand, alternate.
So a lot of that is just whatever pattern of inputs makes sense for your hands. Now we have toilet seat trauma. We did warn you about the toilet seats. So the goal of this game is to arrange the toilet seat so that you can sit on it, and then sit on the toilet seat, presumably to accomplish some goal or other. You press red in order to lower the toilet seat, blue in order to raise the toilet seat, and we're going to get the bonus at the very end by closing it completely, opening it completely, and revealing golden poop. I don't know if there's strategy in that game. I hate that game.
The slight strategy is that you can sit down immediately after you've got the toilet in the right seat, and then you'd have to wait to move on to the next toilet.
And much like the painting game, it's a matter of figuring out what your timing window is for when you can start pressing buttons for the next thing. This is pairs and pairs. The goal of this one is to press the pair of buttons that match the pair of girls on screen. Don't press the button for the odd one out. You can see we're mashing yellow here at the start. That's going to get us the bonus. There's a limited number of yellow button presses that it'll allow within each pair that you're matching. And once you've hit a certain number of button presses, it'll give you the bonus.
And this game speeds up over time. So even if you hit the correct buttons right after they come up, there's still a slight delay. It works kind of like the Super Mario Brothers frame rule, except the number of frames shrinks over time. So at the very beginning, it's very easy to get the first cycle. But later on, you have to be quick to get it before the frame rule elapses.
So the next game is Blocks to Cube. At the start, we're going to see us getting the bonus holding down yellow for 3 seconds. The goal of this game is to complete a 3x3 square by pressing buttons that match the lane that you need to drop a shape into in order to complete it.
Now this one, you can actually start inputting for the next block as soon as the previous one starts falling. But since you don't know what the next one is, you can't really know what to hit exactly. But from the 5th one onwards, there's always at least 1 hit on each button. So you can buffer by hitting all 3 right before it comes up and save yourself a split second per round.
Next one is Sharpshooting Cowboy. The goal of this one is to press the appropriate buttons for the items that you're seeing on the screen. As you can see, we're going to be doing a lot more than that. And then the bonus at the very end is pressing all 3 buttons before you press yellow.
So this one, the failure animation takes a fixed amount of time. But the time it takes before it moves on to the next one for a correct round, it starts out very slow and gets faster. And there is no penalty for overhitting except for a very last set. If you overhit on a very last set, then you have to do another round.
So for the first 7 matches in Sharpshooting Cowboy, it's quicker to shoot the girl than not. Now we're on to Dice Dash. So this is a game where you use red, blue, and green to manipulate the die in order to get to the number that you need to travel for the next crystal. The bonus is alternating 1 and 5 back and forth a couple of times. And part of the strategy for this game is getting yourself into a situation where it's easy to do with the 3 or the 4 on top.
Also, you can rotate the die while your little character is moving forwards after you got the previous one. So you can try to guess at what the next number is going to be based on counting the squares.
Next is Animation Puzzle. You're going to see a little animated image on the right, and you have to rearrange it using red, green, and blue swapping panels in order to match the complete image on the left. The bonus we're going to see on the 3rd one is pressing green 10 times, and then blue, green, red to finish the puzzle and get the big fight shooting across the screen.
This one also has some fixed set of patterns, but it's also harder to tell which pattern you're looking at. So kind of like
for example, the very
one.
first one is almost always just green on its own, but sometimes it's not, and that can be difficult to figure out once you're there. So the next one is going to be Sushi a la carte. This is kind of a memory game. You're going to be showed images, you're going to be showed text that matches sushi. The order that the sushi comes up is random, but the location, the button you have to hit for each sushi is always going to be the same. Egg, for example, is always going to be green. And then we got the bonus at the very beginning this time, for whatever reason. When CEO comes up, you press yellow instead of the appropriate button.
So this one also, each of the 15 orders comes up exactly once. The first 12 will always be 4 of each button. So you can kind of count how many you've gotten on each button, and if one gets to 4 early, you know everything else is going to be on the other 2 buttons until the last 3.
And then the last one is Box Robots. This one is you're building a bridge by pressing inputs for the appropriate lane, but you have to press all of the inputs leading up to it, kind of like Simon. So the chain of inputs increases each time.
Time is going to be coming up.
Yeah, time is coming up on yellow.
Time.
That's time.
And there's a bonus for just simply not messing up.
What are the better bonuses?
And that's BishiBashi.
So I want to do a quick shout out to Dragonminder, who has been helping us task this game in a variety of ways. And that isn't anywhere close to complete, but we've learned so much from her help and all of the various code diving that she's done. So shout out to her.
Yeah, huge thank you to Poochy, who's been helping me learn this game. Huge thank you to JimTheEternal. Check out JimTheEternal on his Twitch stream, twitch.tv/JimTheEternal. Check out my stream. I'll be doing a much more in-depth explanation of like everything we didn't have time to go over in the next week or so. So come check me out. And otherwise, thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Mhm. Welcome back. What a killer run. This isn't the first time I've seen the BishiBashi, so I knew what we were in for, but the speed at which billyjr82 just flew through those mini games just never ceases to blow me away. Let's get to a few more of these donations. Brigger Monkey donates $50 and says, GDQ hype! 1.5 million, we can do it. Ridiculous sends in $25 with the comment, G'day GDQ, watching from Australia. Wanted to give some dollary dues to a great cause. And Starrod Kirby 86 donates $573 with the comment, you guys don't want to miss the incredible skill billyjr82 will be displaying here. Thanks for being such a wonderful representative for rhythm games, arcade games, and everything in between. Let's bish, bash, and skidop-a-dop. All right. And it sounds like we are ready for our next interview. So, take it away, Spike.
Thank you very much, Nerdy. Kicking it over. What's up, everyone? Hope y'all have been enjoying this absolutely jam-packed Friday. One of the greatest Fridays we've ever had in GDQ history. And it doesn't let up. You saw some amazing skill throughout the day with all of the rhythm games, Dance Rush, Stardom, My Finale. We just had BishiBashi. Breath of the Wild was an absolutely fantastic watch. And now we have still got two games that probably most of the audience, if you just read them on the you look through it, okay, Super Mario 64, DKC3, like, okay, what the heck is storks and apes and crocodiles? What is Let's Give Up? We're here to tell you that. I am joined by our two amazing runners, SuperBen and MrMightyMouse. How are you both doing tonight?
Great.
Doing good.
Awesome to hear. Our two runners will be bringing you these games that are Super Mario World mods. And they always got to come with some goofy names. They're not always straightforward. And the first thing I want to ask both of you for these incredibly difficult games with some goofy names, what the heck? Where did the names come from?
Well, I can tell you my game's name basically came from like an internet meme. And everybody playing these Kaizo games at one point has said, this isn't worth it, let's give up. And this game took that to heart, and it's even the opening message of the hack. So it's a very self-referential kind of title.
Yeah, and Storks and Apes and Crocodiles comes from about 100-year-old poem. Morsel, the creator, has been accused of being a little bit pretentious, but he makes a good game, so...
I love the juxtaposition. I love just the polar opposites of those origins of names. Mine comes from a 100-year-old poem. Mine's an internet meme. Ah, love it. Love the duality right there. So looking forward to both of these runs genuinely. So there are hundreds, if not, I wouldn't be lying by saying there are literally thousands of Super Mario World mods out there. This is a fantastic game with a fantastic engine that just lends itself really well to people being creative and just tons of awesome creators out there. For both of you as runners, though, what is it that you see to stick out from the pack and you say, I want to sink my teeth into that, whether as a speedrun or even just playing through it casually? Mighty Mouse, will start with you.
Well, I know this is ironic because the game that I'm playing is an entirely cape-focused game. But I love just good old-fashioned platforming. Just creative setups and just tight hard jumps to make. I don't know why, it like speaks to my soul, and that's what I love most in games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, Ben.
Yeah, for me, generally, I just watch what other people play, and if it looks fun to speedrun, I take it up. But for Storks in particular, it was like pulling teeth to get me to play this game. When I saw people playing it, it was like, I don't want to come 100 feet within this hack. Sorry, wrong game. And now I just love it. It really spoke to me. So yeah.
Yeah, we're on the late night edition. It's okay. I want to compliment each of you real quick. We got to talk about it beforehand, but Mighty Mouse, I love that this is a Mario World mod that is so focused on the cape. There's a very negative connotation around the cape in Super Mario World that just kind of cheeses the whole game. Mario World modders know how to take it and make, oh yeah, we'll make you do some really, really difficult stuff with it. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, the cape is, I want to say, one of the most broken power-ups in maybe all of gaming.
Mhm.
Like if you ever watch a task get a hold of a cape, it just does insane things. So a lot of times these games ask players to do similarly complicated things, and it doesn't always agree with them the way they would like to.
And SuperBen, for you, to this day, I have personally seen dozens of the greatest, the most famous Mario World mods. Storks and Apes and Crocodiles, as ridiculous as the name is still my favorite one that I've ever watched. The level design is so cool. It's so fast, so fun.
Yeah, it's so fast paced. I think people are gonna love to watch it. It's just a great viewing experience. Sometimes it's not as fun to play, but usually it's great all around.
Hopefully, both games are at least a little bit fun to play tonight. Hopefully, we still have smiles on our faces by the end of it. Every year, twice a year, people will watch GDQ streams and they'll maybe think to themselves, oh, that game looks really cool. Maybe I want to pick it up as a speed run. I feel like you probably don't hear that as much for the Mario World mods out there, just like mods in general. It's like, oh, I could never do that. That looks too hard. That'd be impossible for me. Do you either of you have any words of advice or maybe encouragement, anything for the people out there who think they could never do it?
Yeah, I mean, my advice would just be get started. A lot of times people like watch streamers or something and they're like, do I need all this equipment? Do I need this? I need to practice. And I tell them, like, I started playing on an emulator with like a used 360 controller and I was terrible. Like, just dip your toes in the water and see if you like it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, starting playing Kaizo, I thought it was going to be easier than it was, and I really struggled to learn. It takes a lot of hours. You really gotta put the time in before you feel competent. But it's so rewarding. You get through some of these tough levels all in one go, and you just feel just like you're a god gamer. It's great.
It definitely looks like that. Love a good, satisfying platformer like that. And these Kaizo games take it to the nth degree. So, with that, one final question on the way out the door, then building off of that, any good starting positions for newbies wanting to get into Kaizo Mario?
Yeah, I mean, and again, the scene's blown up a lot, so there's a ton of beginner friendly hacks like the quickie worlds and whatnot, and there's also a lot of good standard hacks that you could start with, like of jumps and platforms. And a great hack just came out, a plumber for all seasons. The creator had been working on it for 9 years, and
Wow.
it looks beautiful. It feels like a true sequel to SMW.
Yeah, I'd recommend Cute Kaizo, Super Moo World, and of course the quickies that are famous as beginner hacks. All those are great starts.
You heard it here, guys. Try out the quickies. Try out Moo World. What was the name of the one you
Right?
just mentioned, Mighty Mouse? The 9 year
Oh,
Oh,
one.
a plumber for all seasons.
That was the cool
That
name. I
and
want to get that one.
Yeah, that one specifically is not Kaizo. It feels a lot more like a vanilla, like a true kind of sequel. Like it feels like its own little game. But
Mhm.
if you're just interested in jumping into Mario and like getting used to the controls, that's as good a place to start as any.
Sounds great. Mighty Mouse Super Ben, two legendary gamers right here, about to take on two extremely hard Mario World mods for you guys. Coming up right after this run of SpongeBob Truth or Square. We're going to send it back up to the front. Thank you both for joining me, and best of luck in your games. See you later, everyone.
So much for that fantastic interview, Spike. Let's take another look at a donation real quick. Popo donates $50 with a comment for the 1.5 mil push. Looks like we're sitting at 1.481 by my tracker, which means we're getting closer and closer and closer. I know this chat has it within their power. Let's crest over 1.5 before the end of this SpongeBob race coming up. But before we get to that race, stick around, stand up, stretch, make sure to hydrate, and we'll be right back.